Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. This is Blaze Trails with Salesforce Military. I'm Yancey Whitaker. What I'm going to talk to you about today is obviously Salesforce Military, and we're going to do it by talking about my specific journey. I don't really have any selling issues. However, I want to point out that I'm speaking about Salesforce Military, not on behalf of Salesforce Military. And this is set up to be a light guide, not a deep dive into the process, but here I am again. As I said, I'm Yancey Whitaker. I'm a consultant with Deloitte Digital. And also, as you can tell, I am the barefoot presenter. Please don't tell Deloitte. So we'll jump right on in. Who or what is a trailblazer? Raise your hand. It's everybody. It's an end user, it's an analyst, it's an architect, even a CTO of IoT. So blazing trails. When I think of blazing trails, you got to think of the trail, correct? So you have a starting point and an end point. So for me, my true starting point was in high school. I was selected I was selected for several engineering programs, and I just couldn't afford it. So 3 days after high school, I went to the Marine Corps. So that's the veteran of Salesforce Military that puts me in this story. And then you fast forward a few years later, 2013, as a single father, we made the move to Michigan, chasing my son's hockey dreams. It wasn't really difficult. After the recession, I lost a house, lost a car, and lost more self-respect than most people would ever understand. But anyway, it was easy to move. So we moved up there, and as an electrician, I quickly found that I could get a job. And after a little while, I found a good spot, and then I worked my way to field service, which was good for me at the time. And so going back to my journey, my end point, you see where I started, and then my end point, I had the plan, provide for my family, right? That's the plan. But a very, very, very wise man once said, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. My punch in the face was working 24/7, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week in Mexico. Now, a funny thing when you tell people you work in Mexico, this is what they see. This is the Mexico I worked at. Pleasant, very pleasant. So working in that environment, we saw it was time for a change. And not just the environment, but while I was working there, I'd been dating my now wife for a year. And she posted on Facebook that she had no meetings today, so she's working at the pool. Feet in the water, a laptop on her lap, and she posts this picture on Facebook while I'm dying of heat exhaustion in Mexico. So as it happened, a week later, we were on vacation, and as soon as I dropped the bags, I said, okay, what is this Salesforce thing that you've been yammering on about for the past year? Salesforce this, Salesforce that. Ironically, that's what I do now. So she started to tell me what it was, and then she stops with my laptop sitting there. She grabs my laptop, she logs me into Trailhead. So that day, September 20th, 2017, without even being able to spell CRM, my Trailblazer journey began. So I did one badge, I did another, and I quickly began to understand that this is an opportunity for a change, a true change. Now, how often do you hear that? If you're up in the middle of the night watching infomercials, probably every 15 minutes. But I'm talking about a true change. And it's absolutely changed my life. So let's go back to my journey and my goals and Trailhead. And it's easy to see what I was doing here, right? One badge a day. It's simple. It's Marine math. I don't even need to take my shoes off, even though they are off, obviously. But being a Marine, I'm a bit of an overachiever, so you can see that instead of 60 days for 60 badges, I did it in 66 weeks. And then I turned around and got my Trailhead Ranger at 2 months. Why do you only see Trailhead Ranger? Because that's the only one that matters. I'm a Marine. It was the highest rank at the time. It's no longer the case. We don't want to talk about it. But 2 months, that's what we were shooting for. So with that Ranger status, Ranger Yancey was born. Why am I showing you a networking and branding slide when I'm supposed to be talking about Salesforce Military? It's an easy answer. Networking is how I found Salesforce Military. Why is this an old picture? You don't know this, but this is an old picture. I'm using an old picture because I have a personal relationship with 4 out of those 5 people. Rock stars. That's who I hang out with. So, more specifically, who's heard of Salesforce Military and has no idea what it is? That was me when I first heard about it. And my first thought is it's a chat group, and that's great. You know, love the support, the camaraderie. You know, like Peloton, right? The support groups. But I was, like I said, I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, right? I don't have time for that. So, let's jump into what it actually is. Salesforce Military's goal is to train, connect, and employ. We're trying to transform, or I guess I feel like it's we, trying to transform combat skills into job and career skills, which is no simple task. And Catherine and Ann let me borrow a lot of stuff, so I want to make sure they get full credit. Who is Salesforce Military, right? That's the very first question that you're going to ask. And they couldn't call it active duty veteran spouses force. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. I mean, it does when I say it, obviously. But anyway, so these are the folks that qualify. Oh, I jumped. So who else? And I'm supposed to ask that before I move the slide forward, but who else qualifies? And it's a trick question because it's actually where else. Along with the US, we have Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, all who qualify to utilize the tools and resources that Salesforce Military brings along. Cool, right? So this, I'm going to give you a quick overview as Sergeant Astro starts up at the top and cruises their way all the way down to the bottom. So you're going to start off, and this is a big overview. You're going to start off by verifying, hey, yes, I do qualify for Salesforce Military. And then you're going to jump in and you're going to do a trail mix, which is cool because you decided on which trail mix based on your path. And once you complete that trail mix, that qualifying trail mix, you're going to be eligible for a Salesforce-led course that's specific to that certification. Then once you complete that, they're going to hand you a voucher. Once you get the voucher, you're going to go and you're going to get certified. Once you're certified, what's going to happen? Just like what your parents told you. Get a job. So I'm going to break it down a little bit for you. When you first log in, this is what you're going to see. This is the happy screen that you see. As I promised, you got 2 simple buttons to go ahead and say, this is me, I am qualified for this program. I'm a veteran, I'm a military spouse, I am active duty. But once you've verified, like I said, you got to pick a path. Now, 4 years ago when I first did this, there were only 3 little placards up there. So what are you going to do? You're going to look at these placards and say, oh, this is what I'm going to do. No. You're going to go ahead and click into one, and then you're going to get a great overview. Am I going to click in? I know I got a lot of slides. Am I going to click into all 9? No, I'm not. So we got a good overview, some salary expectations, some good stuff to kind of get you an understanding of what that job career path will do for you. And it's also going to give you some general skills as well as some specialized skills. Not only is it going to do that, but it's going to weight those skills for you and let you know how important they are. So as you go through, you're going to click, most people do. I did. You're going to click every one of them to see, how does this relate to me? Does it sound good? Is this my happy path? So plenty of opportunity. But once you pick those paths, there are going to be certain certifications that lie on those paths. And here are 20 plus certifications that Salesforce Military and Salesforce specifically has given the funds to give you the resources to get these all free of charge. Super cool. So once you pick that certification that you want, we're going to walk that trail, right? Salesforce Military gives the best trail mixes out there. If you want to get a certification, I tell civilians, do the VetForce stuff. And I know it's they can't rebrand it, so they're still called VetForce. It's a topic, but we're going to ignore that. So once we've made all these decisions, we're going to come back to our home page, and here we are. We're not looking at that, right? We're not looking at that, right? We ignore that. So as you can see, it's pretty intuitive, right? We've already got started because we picked our path, and then we're going to expand our skills. And oh, look at that. We can click directly here and go straight to a trailhead module to do the trail mix, because it automatically associates that trail mix with your goal. And then once you're done with the trail mix, it's going to give you the option of, like I said, the Salesforce-led training course. And then are you going to get certified or not, right? And then down here, you got a couple cool stats, your super badges, certifications, and each goal completed is you completing the trail mix. Back to my story and my journey. As you saw in previous slides, I was a Ranger in 2 months, but what I did not tell you is that I was actually Salesforce certified in 4 months. And if you analyze this session, you're going to find fun Easter eggs, plot holes, and all kinds of fun stuff. Because if you go in and you review the Salesforce admin certification, it says you should have 6 months of experience. So kind of impossible to have 6 months of experience when I got it in 4 months. But that's the fun of jumping in head first. So here I am, fast forward a year later after I jumped in on Trailhead. I'm at Dreamforce 2018, rocking it, right? I look like a rock star. Astro's driving my car. I'm on top of the world, right? Interesting side note about this. This particular slide, this used to be my last slide. So you can see there's a couple of cool Trailhead modules that you can take home with you. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And there's a couple good links on there that you can take home with you. And I'll explain why they're there. So again, top of the world, right? That's the question. What do you think was missing from that picture in my awesome life? J-O-B. I didn't have a job.
Show me the money.
So, Salesforce Military has some options for that as well. We have an employer page. And what is the value of being on this employer page? First off, they look cool because they're on the Salesforce Military page. But each company on this page makes a promise to Salesforce Military. They promise that if an individual is a member of Salesforce Military and they have at least one certification, when they apply at any of these companies, they promise that they will give that individual a live interview. Now, how is that important? It's super important, particularly to your fresh veterans that just got out, because what we found is that through time, what you have on your resume, that whole machine gunner doesn't translate real well to a corporate skills per se. But what they found is once they got individuals that they thought may not qualify, once they got those individuals and actually spoke to them and found out their experiences in leadership, in team building, team bonding, and the cohesiveness that they bring, they found out, hey, this person didn't look good on paper, but I want them on my team. So super important to get that interview. What else do we have? We have employment resources. Hiring Our Heroes is very near and dear to me because I was in the very first Salesforce cohort of Hiring Our Heroes a couple years back. And what they do is they offer a 12-week fellowship, which is basically a paid internship. And at the end of that, you could potentially find your full-time role. I think we're at 94% full-time hire rate at the end of 2 years, so not too bad. Then we have Merivis, which is more of an individual program that sits on top of Salesforce Military, utilizing the tools and resources that Salesforce gives them. But they do 6 to 8 week cohorts where they have 1 week of intensive, which is basically 8-hour days for the full week. Typically it's on site. And they also will give you a coach / mentor to help you through the process. And then when all that cool stuff's done, they will help do a great job of plugging you into a career. And then the last one down here, it looks like Chuck, but it's really Rising Star Technologies. I put this in here because this is one example, and there are many out there. Please feel free to message me, and I will start a list so I can create another slide because I need another slide, right? But what Chuck did is he created a company. He had an opportunity to hire whoever he wanted, but he chose, being a former Marine himself, to only give this opportunity to veterans. And he gave many veterans their foot in the door. And I'm not going to read everything off this slide, but we were there. I was there 8 months, and different people came into the program later. But you can see that we had some incredible accomplishments while we were there. And actually, one of the individuals in the last few months has opened his doors, planning to do the same model as Chuck and only hire veterans. So what can we do for Salesforce Military? Be a multiplier. Take these slides back to your employer and say, hey, why aren't we hiring veterans? Take these slides back to your veteran resource group back home and say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to change your life. Spread the love. That's what we can do. Be a multiplier. Thankfully, this is my last slide. And I thank you, and I really appreciate your attendance.